Welcome, dearly beloved anointed ones. Power doesn't ask for permission. It shows up and flips everything. Somewhere deep in the currents of life, there are moments when the invisible hand of fate decides to shift. And suddenly, your world isn't the same anymore. People who didn't notice you yesterday are now standing up, speaking for you, defending you with a ferocity that feels almost theatrical. It's a subtle law of energy. Influence isn't measured in who's applauding you quietly. It's measured in who would step into the line of fire for you. Studies show that human beings are wired to protect and champion what they perceive as rare or irreplaceable. And when someone's loyalty ignites like this, it signals a seismic shift in your perceived value. It's as if overnight, the universe has found its megaphone and decided your presence deserves attention, not because you demanded it, but because the world finally caught up to what's been there all along. The irony is delicious. While you were quietly grinding, living your life, maybe spilling coffee on your shirt or tripping over invisible obstacles, someone was quietly plotting to guard your corner like a mythical beast. The suspense is palpable. Who is defending you? Why now? And what invisible thread just snapped that made the shift happen so suddenly? By the end of this, you'll see that being the chosen one isn't about dramatic entrances or loud announcements. It's about the quiet, undeniable gravity that draws loyalty, respect, and unseen protection toward you, flipping everything you thought you knew about your position in the game. And just like that, what once seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary, and you realize the world isn't asking anymore. It's obeying. Number one, the universe moves for you. There are moments in life when it feels like the world suddenly bends in your direction, like every obstacle you faced before was just a setup for what's coming next. This isn't luck, and it's not coincidence. It's alignment on a level most people never notice. The universe has a way of responding to energy, to presence, to the quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout to be seen. When everything flips overnight, it's a signal that you've entered that zone where the currents of life start moving with you, not against you. Doors that were closed start creaking open. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly appear, and people who ignored you begin taking notice, sometimes fiercely. What's extraordinary is that this shift isn't always about what you've done in plain sight. Often it's about the accumulation of unseen effort, the discipline you didn't announce, the resilience that nobody applauded. The universe seems to recognize the weight of that quiet work, and when the timing is right, it acts. It moves on your behalf in ways that can feel almost instantaneous. Someone standing up for you, advocating for you, or defending you with intensity isn't random. They're part of the ripple effect of your presence finally being acknowledged. There's a hidden rhythm to this too. Life tends to reward the person who remains authentic, who doesn't chase validation, and who doesn't scramble for recognition. The moment the energy aligns, it's undeniable. It's as if the world suddenly says, "Enough waiting, it's time." And the force of that shift is so powerful that it can feel surreal, like the ground beneath you is flipped overnight. This is why the chosen ones rarely need to announce themselves. The universe is already speaking for them. When everything moves in your favor suddenly, it's proof that your influence, your energy, and your presence have reached a tipping point. The world doesn't move around ordinary energy. It gravitates toward the extraordinary, and once it does, the motion is unstoppable. This is the raw, unfiltered way the universe shows it's on your side. And it's an affirmation that what you're building, even quietly, is bigger than you ever imagined. Number two, someone's investing energy in your side. When someone suddenly defends you fiercely, it's more than just words or gestures. It's energy being invested on your behalf. Energy is a currency in human relationships. far more revealing than money or status. It shows where someone's attention, loyalty, and commitment truly lie. The people who step up for you are signaling, often without realizing it, that your presence matters in their world. This isn't casual. It's deliberate on a subconscious level. Defending someone requires effort, focus, and sometimes risk. When that happens, it's proof that your value has become undeniable to someone else, that you've triggered a recognition of worth they can't ignore. This kind of defense doesn't appear for everyone, and it doesn't happen for trivial reasons. People only invest energy where they see something rare, something they can't replace, or someone whose presence amplifies their own life. It's a form of recognition that transcends compliments or social niceties. It's action. Suddenly, you're no longer navigating your world alone. Invisible hands, loyalty, and advocacy appear, often without you asking for it. The moment is intoxicating because it confirms something that can't be argued with. Someone else has chosen you as worth their effort, and in human terms, that is a declaration of significance. What's fascinating is that this energy is rarely about you in a literal sense. It's about the alignment between your presence and someone else's perception of impact. You've reached a tipping point where your influence is visible enough to inspire action, and action is the purest form of belief. Overnight, allies appear, and the landscape shifts because someone's energy is now anchored to your side. The ripple effect is profound. It changes how others see you, how situations unfold, and even how you see yourself. Being defended fiercely is like an invisible endorsement stamped into reality. It proves your worth without a single boast. Energy invested in your side is proof that the universe, through people, has recognized your gravity. And once that energy aligns with your life, things start moving faster than you can plan, faster than you can predict, and far beyond anything you could force yourself. It's not just support, it's validation written in action. Number 3, silence is no longer safe. When someone begins defending you fiercely, it signals a fundamental shift. Your silence can no longer stand as invisible. In the past, walking through the world quietly, keeping your victories small and your moves subtle, might have allowed you to stay under the radar. But when people start speaking for you, advocating for you, and showing up in your corner without being asked, it changes the rules entirely. Your presence now commands acknowledgement, and the quiet strategy that once worked becomes a force that others are compelled to recognize. Silence, once a shield, now carries weight. It can't hide the truth of your influence anymore. This is why it's both exhilarating and slightly unnerving. You don't have to say a word, yet your impact is being articulated by others in ways that feel larger than life. Someone defending you fiercely is essentially broadcasting your significance without a press release, without the need for self-promotion. It's proof that your energy, your actions, and even the smallest decisions you've made have rippled far beyond what you imagined. And the most fascinating part is that this advocacy often happens in moments where you aren't even paying attention. Someone's loyalty becomes the amplifier of your presence, creating a reality where your silence is no longer neutral. It's now loud, powerful, and impossible to ignore. What's even more extraordinary is that this kind of defense reshapes perception. People who might have overlooked you, doubted you, or underestimated you are forced to see the truth through the eyes of others who value you enough to act. This turns your quiet influence into visible authority. Suddenly your energy, which once traveled unseen, becomes a force that shifts dynamics, relationships, and even opportunities around you. The power of this moment is profound because it flips the old rules of engagement. You no longer have to justify yourself. The world is starting to justify you through action. Silence isn't passive anymore. It's active. And in this shift, you realize that your presence alone combined with the fierce defense of others, has transformed everything, overnight, into something undeniable, unstoppable, and unmistakably yours. Number 4. Resistance becomes validation. There's a strange and undeniable truth in life. The energy that once pushed against you can suddenly turn into proof of your significance. Every moment of opposition, every doubt cast in your direction, every barrier that seemed impossible becomes a reflection of the fact that you matter. When people begin defending you fiercely, it's a mirror showing that what was once resisted is now being recognized as valuable. Resistance wasn't a curse. It was an early form of validation, a signal that your presence, your actions, and your choices carry weight. The intensity of opposition often mirrors the magnitude of your impact. What makes this so fascinating is how quickly the roles flip. The same people who may have questioned your worth or ignored your presence can become your advocates, demonstrating the invisible shift in perception. Overnight, what was once tension becomes proof. Your detractors, by defending or recognizing you through action, confirm that the stakes of your existence in their world are higher than anyone realized. In human terms, fierce defense is a language that cannot lie. It's the universe's way of showing that your influence has crossed a threshold where it demands acknowledgement, whether you seek it or not. This transformation is not about winning arguments or forcing recognition. It's about the undeniable gravity of your presence and the unspoken understanding that the energy surrounding you cannot be ignored. Resistance in this context becomes a barometer. The fiercer the previous opposition, the louder the validation becomes when it flips. The shift is so dramatic that it often feels like the rules of the game have been rewritten overnight. What was once an uphill battle now becomes a testament to the invisible power you've cultivated. In essence, this is why being fiercely defended is more than loyalty. It's a confirmation of your existence in a way that words alone cannot capture. Resistance is no longer something to endure. It is the proof that your life, your actions, and your influence are not just seen, they are felt, acknowledged, and protected. And that realization, raw and undeniable, is the kind of validation that changes everything. Number 5. Perception precedes reality. In life, what people see often becomes the reality they act upon, even before the truth fully unfolds. Influence doesn't wait for you to prove yourself. It begins the moment others perceive your value. When everything flips overnight and someone starts defending you fiercely, it's not just about what you've done. It's about how your presence has been interpreted, internalized, and amplified in the minds of others. Perception is the silent architect of reality, shaping how people respond, the alliances they form, and the way opportunities materialize around you. By the time you realize your impact, it's often already in motion, visible in loyalty, advocacy, and action taken on your behalf. This is why shifts can feel sudden, almost shocking. The moment isn't truly overnight. It's the culmination of subtle, invisible signals that others have been reading long before you noticed. Your consistency, your discipline, your quiet confidence, they all feed into how others perceive you. People respond less to your explanations and more to the energy and signals you've been sending all along. Someone defending you fiercely is the clearest manifestation of this principle. They are responding to the perception of your worth, and that perception is powerful enough to alter behavior, relationships, and outcomes instantly. Perception shapes more than opinions, it shapes reality itself. Once others believe in your influence or value, their actions create a new landscape in your favor. What was once stagnant or ignored begins to move. Doors that seemed locked open, conversations shift, and your name carries weight you didn't have yesterday. The fierce defense you suddenly receive is proof that your perceived impact has become tangible. It is a living, breathing testament to the idea that reality isn't just what you do. It's what others see, feel, and respond to on your behalf. The subtle brilliance of this truth is that it requires no explanation, no announcement, no boast. The world moves not by your claims, but by the perception others hold of you. When perception aligns with potential, action follows, and that is the invisible engine behind why suddenly everything flips and people rise to protect, defend, and amplify you as if it were always meant to be. Number 6, influence is invisible until it hits. True influence rarely announces itself. Most of the time it operates quietly beneath the surface, unnoticed, almost like gravity. You don't see it, but it shapes everything. Then suddenly it manifests in a way that feels explosive, undeniable, and almost surreal. When someone steps up to defend you fiercely, it's proof that your influence has reached a tipping point. People respond not because they were told to, but because the force of your presence has already made its mark. This kind of influence doesn't require explanation, persuasion, or proof. It simply exists, and when it surfaces, it changes the environment around you overnight. The beauty of invisible influence is that it accumulates in ways most people never notice. Every decision, every subtle act of consistency, every quiet demonstration of integrity contributes to a kind of magnetic field that eventually becomes too strong to ignore. People who were indifferent suddenly feel compelled to act. Allies emerge in unexpected places. Your presence begins shaping outcomes without a single word from you. Those who defend you fiercely aren't just supporting you, they are responding to a force that has been quietly building, one that cannot be manufactured or faked. This is why the moment feels almost unreal. The same energy that seemed invisible before now hits with precision, and people's reactions confirm what has long been happening beneath the surface. Influence isn't about volume or visibility, it's about reach and resonance. When it finally becomes visible, it's dramatic, because it reflects a truth that has always existed. You have been shaping the world silently, and now the world is finally reflecting it back. What makes it extraordinary is that this type of influence is self-propagating. Once people defend you, it reinforces your perceived value, which in turn strengthens your real impact. The energy spreads, perception shifts, and the momentum accelerates. Overnight, what seemed dormant becomes a force field around you, compelling recognition, loyalty, and action. Influence, invisible until it hits, is not just power. It's proof that your presence matters, and the world cannot ignore it anymore. Number 7, your network of defenders is your true mirror. When people suddenly step up to defend you fiercely, it reveals something far deeper than loyalty. It reflects the truth of your presence in the world. Those who are willing to invest energy, time, and risk in standing for you act as a mirror, showing not what you claim to be, but what you actually are in influence, impact, and significance. Your network of defenders is a living measurement of your gravity. They see things about you that perhaps even you have overlooked, and their fierce advocacy signals that your value is real, tangible, and undeniable. What makes this so profound is how instinctive it is. People rarely defend what they see as ordinary, replaceable, or insignificant. When someone steps in to protect or advocate for you without being asked, it demonstrates that your existence has created ripples strong enough to compel action. Their behavior doesn't just reflect your achievements or successes, it reflects the energy, presence, and consistency you carry. Your defenders are an unfiltered assessment of how your life intersects with theirs in ways that matter, ways that are impossible to ignore. The intensity with which someone defends you can also reveal hidden dynamics you may not have been aware of. Sometimes the people who rise for you are not just allies, they are amplifiers, confirming to the world around them that your influence deserves recognition. They become the tangible proof that your impact is no longer a private matter. It has become public, undeniable, and even catalytic. What's remarkable is that this network doesn't form by chance. Over time, your presence, choices, and energy attract those who resonate deeply with your frequency. The moment they defend you fiercely, it crystallizes that invisible connection. Overnight, you gain insight into the truth of your influence, and the reflection is clear. Your defenders are not just standing for you, they are standing in acknowledgement of your essence. Their loyalty is a mirror, and when you look into it, you see what the world has already recognized. Your significance is real, your presence matters, and the impact you've had on people is powerful enough to move others to action. Number 8. Acceleration feels like chaos. When everything flips overnight, it rarely arrives gently. The shift is sudden, intense, and often disorienting because the world hasn't adjusted to your presence yet. The people who once ignored you, doubted you, or underestimated you suddenly become aware, and the momentum that builds from their recognition feels chaotic, even overwhelming. Acceleration in life, true acceleration, is rarely linear. It's messy, unpredictable, and full of energy that seems to come from nowhere. Yet beneath the apparent chaos is a profound order, the alignment of forces, people, and opportunities responding to the gravity you've been quietly building. This intensity feels like turbulence because it disrupts old patterns. Situations that once seemed stable suddenly shift, relationships take on new meaning, and decisions carry weight they never had before. People defending you fiercely act as catalysts in this acceleration, pushing events and outcomes forward faster than you could plan or control. The chaos isn't destructive, it's transformative. It forces recalibration, not just in your life, but in the world around you. Those who weren't paying attention are forced to see, and those who underestimated you are compelled to adjust. Overnight, the quiet landscape of your life becomes dynamic, charged, and impossible to ignore. What makes this acceleration extraordinary is that it is organic. It emerges from the energy you've cultivated over time. No sudden effort or announcement triggers it. Your consistent presence, your decisions, and the invisible influence you've projected quietly reach a point where the world responds dramatically. The chaos is a symptom of this tipping point. It feels intense because you are stepping into a zone where ordinary rules no longer apply. Understanding this makes the upheaval less intimidating and far more exciting. Acceleration that feels like chaos is actually the manifestation of momentum that has been quietly building, a force that moves faster than anticipation. The people defending you, the sudden recognition, and the ripple effects are proof that your influence has entered a realm where impact is immediate, undeniable, and unstoppable. Chaos isn't an obstacle, it's the signature of transformation, a loud signal that everything has shifted and nothing will ever settle the same way again. Number 9. Loyalty emerges from perceived scarcity. When someone defends you fiercely, it's rarely random or casual. Loyalty is a rare currency, and it is most vividly activated when people perceive that what you represent cannot be replaced. Once they recognize that your presence, influence, or energy is unique, they instinctively rise to protect it. Fierce defense is not just support, it's a declaration that you are scarce, valuable, and impactful enough to command action. People don't expend effort on what is abundant or trivial. They invest in what resonates deeply and cannot be replicated. That realization is electrifying because it signals that your worth is no longer theoretical. It is tangible, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. This perception of scarcity creates urgency in human behavior. When people see that you are exceptional in ways they cannot imitate, their loyalty crystallizes almost instinctively. They act, sometimes more fiercely than you could expect, because the risk of losing you or failing to protect you feels significant. Loyalty, in this sense, is a reflection of the unseen value you carry. The fierce defense of your presence becomes proof that your uniqueness has been registered, acknowledged, and prioritized. It's not just admiration, it's action rooted in recognition that what you bring to the table is rare and irreplaceable. What makes this extraordinary is the speed and intensity with which loyalty can appear once scarcity is perceived. Overnight, people who may have been indifferent or hesitant find themselves advocating for you with an intensity that confirms your impact. The underlying truth is that human behavior responds not only to who you are, but to the rarity of your energy and contribution. Scarcity triggers protection because the mind naturally elevates what it senses is limited and precious. In essence, when fierce defenders emerge, they are signaling that your presence is rare, your influence is significant, and your energy cannot be duplicated. Loyalty is no longer optional. It is activated, urgent, and unmistakable. This is a raw, unfiltered truth about human behavior. Scarcity breeds allegiance, and when people rise to defend you, it is the clearest acknowledgement that you are not just another presence in the world. You are exceptional, irreplaceable, and worthy of protection. Number 10, recognition isn't always rational. The moment someone rises to defend you fiercely, it often doesn't follow logic. People don't always act in proportion to facts, achievements, or clear reasons. Sometimes they act because they feel something about you that can't be quantified. Recognition, at its deepest level, is emotional and instinctive. It bypasses rational thought, tapping into a subconscious understanding that your presence, energy, or influence matters in a way that defies explanation. The people defending you are responding to something primal, the undeniable pull of your significance. This is why their defense can feel sudden, surprising, or even disproportionate. They are acting on instinct, not reason. What's extraordinary is that this instinctive recognition is often more truthful than the judgments of the analytical mind. While critics, doubters, and observers may argue, analyze, or discount you, those who defend you act without hesitation because they perceive a reality that others are blind to. The fierce protection isn't calculated. It's a visceral acknowledgement of value, power, or alignment. In this sense, the world sometimes recognizes you before you recognize yourself. Advocacy that seems irrational is actually a reflection of authenticity, being acknowledged on a level too deep for words. This phenomenon also explains why the intensity of support can feel so sudden. People may have been aware of you quietly, admiring or respecting from the shadows, but something in their perception shifts and instinct drives them to action. That action may not make logical sense to onlookers, but it is absolute in its truth. They are responding to the energy of your presence, the magnetism of your influence, and the rarity of what you represent. Understanding this is powerful. Recognition isn't a transaction. It's an alignment of perception, emotion, and instinct. The people defending you aren't thinking about fairness, rewards, or convenience. They are responding to a signal that only they can sense. And in that moment, their fierce advocacy becomes proof that your impact has transcended reason, entering a space where influence is felt before it is measured, acknowledged before it is analyzed, and protected simply because it cannot be ignored. Number 11. Critics turn into champions without warning. One of the most startling signs of sudden influence is when the very people who once doubted, dismissed, or criticized you become your fiercest defenders. This flip isn't superficial or accidental. It's a reflection of a deeper shift in perception. When your value, presence, or impact becomes undeniable, the resistance that once defined interactions with others often transforms into advocacy. Overnight, the skepticism that weighed you down melts, replaced by the surprising intensity of support. What once seemed like opposition suddenly confirms your power, proving that the energy you've carried quietly has been noticed and respected, whether anyone admitted it before or not. The reason this happens is simple but profound. People can only resist what they cannot match or control. When they realize your presence, influence, or unique energy is beyond their ability to ignore, the dynamic flips. Their instinct is no longer to diminish you. It is to protect, defend, and sometimes even promote you. Critics turning into champions is the clearest, most unexpected form of validation. It shows that your impact has reached a tipping point, where acknowledgement is unavoidable. The intensity of defense from those who once doubted you is often stronger than support from those who were always neutral or positive, because it comes with a sudden recognition of what they initially missed. This transformation is also a window into human behavior. People are drawn to strength, authenticity, and undeniable presence. Once these qualities become visible in ways they cannot rationalize or dismiss, the very individuals who resisted must realign with reality. Their fierce defense becomes a testament not only to your worth, but to the undeniable fact that influence operates on perception, timing, and gravity rather than effort or persuasion. The extraordinary part of this flip is its suddenness. It's not earned by argument or explanation. It emerges organically, almost mysteriously, and it changes the entire landscape around you. Critics who become champions embody the invisible forces recognizing your power, silently affirming that your impact is real, unshakable, and impossible to ignore. Overnight, the world shows that it respects not the narrative of doubt, but the undeniable fact of your presence. Number 12. Critics turn into champions without warning. One of the most electrifying signs that everything has flipped overnight is when those who once doubted or dismissed you suddenly become your fiercest defenders. It's a strange phenomenon, almost like the universe has a way of rearranging the pieces so that your value becomes impossible to ignore. The very energy that once drew criticism now flips, not because people were persuaded by logic, but because they can no longer deny the weight of your presence. Their transformation is a raw, instinctive acknowledgement. They see what they couldn't ignore, and now their actions prove it. This shift is often sudden and intense. Critics don't turn into champions gradually, they erupt. The person who once questioned your worth may step forward with a ferocity that feels disproportionate, but that intensity is exactly the point. It reflects a deep realization. Your influence, impact, or uniqueness is rare, undeniable, and inescapable. Overnight, the dynamics change. The voices that once tried to diminish you now amplify your significance, sometimes more passionately than those who were always on your side. Their defense isn't about friendship, obligation, or convenience. It's about recognition, instinct, and the magnetic pull of authenticity. The reason this flip is so powerful is that it carries credibility. Critics hold a certain weight because their prior opposition suggested they saw gaps or weaknesses in you. When they reverse course, their advocacy becomes a testament that what you represent is no longer debatable. Their energy, previously applied to resistance, is now redirected into protection, endorsement, and validation. This is a signal that you've crossed a threshold. The impact you've made is no longer subtle, and the world is responding accordingly. This phenomenon also reveals a larger truth about influence. It doesn't need permission or unanimous agreement. Its power lies in the recognition it evokes, and sometimes the strongest acknowledgement comes from the people who once resisted. Critics turning into champions is proof that perception, alignment, and undeniable presence can flip the script overnight, leaving no room for doubt and making your impact unmistakably real. Number 13, power reveals hidden alliances. When someone starts defending you fiercely, It uncovers connections and alliances that you may not have even been aware existed. True power isn't just about visibility or control. It's about the invisible network of people who recognize your significance and act in alignment with it. Overnight, those quiet bonds that once seemed subtle or dormant suddenly become tangible. Friends, acquaintances, or even strangers may rise in your defense, showing that your influence has been quietly weaving through networks, creating loyalty, trust, and allegiance long before anyone formally acknowledged it. These hidden alliances are proof that your impact has a reach far beyond what you see, and when they reveal themselves, the world shifts around you. The beauty of this is that these alliances often operate under the radar. People who defend you are not always obvious supporters. They are the ones whose recognition matters most because it is unspoken, instinctive, and genuine. They step up not because they owe you something, but because they perceive your value as undeniable. This fierce defense acts like a spotlight, illuminating the depth of support you've built through subtle influence, shared energy, and mutual respect. What felt invisible yesterday suddenly becomes a force you can feel. These hidden alliances also amplify your presence in ways that are immediate and powerful. When someone acts on your behalf without being asked, it signals to others that you are worth defending, aligning, and prioritizing. The ripple effect is immense. Perception shifts, opportunities emerge, and dynamics transform as the people in your orbit begin responding to the collective recognition of your value. The alliances you never saw were quietly setting the stage for moments like this, silently calibrating the world to your presence. What this ultimately reveals is that power is rarely solitary. It exists in connection, influence, and the unseen bonds that respond instinctively to your energy. When defenders emerge and hidden alliances reveal themselves, it becomes clear that your impact is not just personal, it's systemic. The world has been quietly taking note, and now, overnight, those subtle currents become visible, undeniable, and fully aligned in your favor. Number 14. Everything flips. Because the game changes. When someone begins defending you fiercely, it signals that the rules have shifted. What once applied no longer does, and the landscape around you transforms in ways that are sudden, profound, and undeniable. Life doesn't always move in predictable patterns, but certain moments arrive that force a recalibration of perception, energy, and opportunity. Overnight, the dynamics you've been navigating, relationships, reputation, influence, are altered because the game itself has changed. The forces around you adjust to your presence, and what was once uphill becomes a new plane where momentum accelerates, often before you fully process the shift. This change isn't superficial, it's systemic. It ripples across people, situations, and environments, creating consequences you can feel immediately. People who underestimated you, ignored you, or even opposed you find themselves reacting differently, aligning with new realities that your influence has quietly built. Fierce defenders act as the heralds of this shift. They are proof that the stakes have changed, and that your significance can no longer be measured by old rules. Their actions mark the transformation from being unnoticed or underestimated to being recognized and defended, sometimes with intensity that feels sudden and explosive. What makes this shift extraordinary is how it reframes everything you thought you knew. The strategies, relationships, and assumptions that guided your past decisions may no longer hold, because the environment has adjusted to your growing impact. Overnight, subtle influence becomes overt, quiet energy becomes visible, and the networks you've cultivated respond with action that confirms your presence is now a pivot point in the system around you. At its core, this moment is about alignment. The world moves to accommodate those who reach a tipping point of impact and visibility, often without fanfare or announcement. What was once ordinary transforms into leverage, recognition, and momentum simply because the rules of engagement have shifted. Everything flips because the game itself changes, and the forces that govern influence, loyalty, and perception respond. When defenders rise, alliances solidify, and perception aligns with reality, it becomes undeniable. You are no longer playing the old game. The world has adjusted, and suddenly everything moves differently in your favor, without apology or delay. The story of being the chosen one is not about luck, timing, or flashy moments. It's about invisible forces aligning, energy being recognized, and presence commanding loyalty in ways that words alone cannot capture. Overnight shifts, fierce defenders, and sudden recognition are not random. They are the reflection of your influence, authenticity, and impact finally reaching a tipping point. Every person who stands up for you, every unexpected ally, and even every critic turned champion is proof that your significance is undeniable. The universe and the people within it respond not to noise or effort alone, but to the subtle gravity of who you are, the energy you carry, and the consistency of your presence. What this all reveals is simple yet profound. Influence is invisible until it hits. Loyalty emerges from scarcity. Perception precedes reality, and everything can flip the moment your energy aligns with the forces around you. Every unseen act, every quiet decision, and every ounce of effort you've invested creates momentum that eventually compels recognition. When defenders rise, hidden alliances reveal themselves, and what once seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary. It's a testament to the fact that the world doesn't wait for announcements. It responds to authenticity, impact, and undeniable presence. So if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or doubted, remember this. Your moment of alignment is inevitable. People will rise for you, circumstances will shift, and what was once invisible will become unstoppable. Your influence is already working, even when you can't see it, and when it surfaces, the world will move differently because of it. If this resonated with you and opened your eyes to the unseen forces at play in your life, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, comment your thoughts below, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Stay connected because your moment is coming, and you'll want to be ready when everything flips in your favor. God bless you.